At the end of the day, the Nazi leadership were not warriors of morality, but politicians driven by power. Like many rulers in history, they created rules for others, but quietly ignored them for themselves. They presented an image of discipline, faith, and loyalty. Yet behind the curtains, their personal lives were filled with secrets and contradictions. Publicly, the Nazi regime promoted the idea of strong traditional values. They insisted that every German family should be built on loyalty, obedience, and faith in the Führer. According to their ideology, men were meant to fight for the nation, while women were told their duty was to give birth to future soldiers. The state glorified motherhood through medals and awards. A woman who bore 4 or more children for the Reich could receive the Cross of Honor of the German mother. Hitler saw women as tools to produce the next generation of his army, not as individuals with dreams or freedom. While other nations encouraged women to join factories and the workforce during war, Nazi Germany was slow to do the same. The government feared that sending women to work would break their carefully constructed image of the perfect home. Instead, propaganda showed smiling mothers raising blonde-haired children under the swastika. Marriage was promoted as sacred, something unbreakable and essential to the Nazi vision. Divorce was discouraged and often frowned upon, especially among party members. Yet behind this image of purity and unity, many of the same leaders secretly lived double lives filled with affairs and scandal. They preached about morality, discipline, and loyalty, but their own choices were anything but moral. Many top officials kept mistresses or had hidden relationships that the public never knew about. Some even fathered illegitimate children while condemning others for the same behavior. Adolf Hitler himself, the face of the Third Reich, remained officially unmarried for most of his life. But he lived for years with his secret lover, Eva Braun, hidden away from public view. Hitler feared that revealing his relationship might make him appear weak or ordinary to the people. Eva Braun spent most of her life in the background, unseen and unacknowledged. She lived at Hitler's mountain retreat in Berghof, taking photographs and waiting for moments when he wasn't surrounded by generals and politicians. Her existence was kept so secret that many Germans never knew her name until after the war. Heinrich Himmler, the powerful head of the SS, constantly spoke about the importance of family, purity, and loyalty. But in truth, he separated from his wife and lived with his secretary, with whom he had 2 children. Like many others in the Nazi elite, his private actions betrayed his public words. Martin Bormann, Hitler's personal secretary and one of the most influential men in Nazi Germany, had 10 children with his wife. Yet he too lived a double life, chasing actresses and women from high society circles, using his political power for personal pleasure. Hermann Göring, the commander of the Luftwaffe, was one of the few who appeared genuinely devoted to his family. He loved his wife Emmy and their daughter Edda deeply, though his greed for luxury and power overshadowed his better qualities. Göring surrounded himself with wealth, jewels, and art stolen from across Europe. Among all the Nazi leaders, the one who gained the worst reputation for his private life was Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's propaganda minister and master manipulator of the German mind. Goebbels was the man who shaped how Germans saw the war, the Führer, and even themselves. He controlled newspapers, films, radio broadcasts, and every form of media that reached the public. But beyond the propaganda, he lived a life full of jealousy, obsession, and desire. Women, especially young actresses, often became victims of his charm and his power. Goebbels' wife, Magda, was known across Germany as the model Nazi woman, beautiful, elegant, and devoted to her husband and to Hitler. Many admired her grace and called her the First Lady of the Reich. She stood beside Goebbels at grand events, smiling for the cameras that hid their fractured marriage. Before marrying Goebbels, Magda had been married once before and had a child from that marriage. She was drawn to Goebbels' intelligence and his way with words. But over time, she discovered his dark side, his arrogance, lies, and endless hunger for attention from other women. Goebbels loved being surrounded by fame and beauty. As the man who oversaw Germany's film industry, He used his authority to invite popular actresses to private dinners and parties. Many of these meetings ended in scandal, whispers, or ruined careers. His insecurities played a huge role in his behavior. Standing barely 1.65 meters tall and walking with a limp from a childhood deformity, Goebbels always felt inferior to the strong, uniformed soldiers around him. His hatred for weakness turned inward, feeding his cruelty toward others. Unable to serve in World War I, he channeled his bitterness into words. His speeches were sharp and venomous, filled with manipulation and hate. His colleagues secretly despised him and nicknamed him the Poison Dwarf, a title that reflected both his stature and his soul. Goebbels misused government funds to support his luxurious lifestyle. He bought expensive cars, jewelry, and art, while ordinary Germans struggled to survive. Still, Hitler trusted him completely, believing Goebbels was irreplaceable in controlling the hearts and minds of the people. One of the most infamous scandals of the Nazi era came when Goebbels began an affair with a Czech actress named Lida Barova in 1936. Their relationship became a national embarrassment when gossip spread among Germany's upper circles. Magda, devastated and furious, went straight to Hitler himself and demanded that he intervene. Hitler, who valued appearances above all else, ordered Goebbels to end the affair immediately. He told him that a propaganda minister must appear as a symbol of discipline, not weakness. Barova's career was destroyed overnight. Once a rising star, she was blacklisted and forced to leave Germany. Her life fell apart because she had loved the wrong man at the wrong time. Goebbels, meanwhile, returned to his wife as if nothing had happened. It was far from his only affair. Many secretaries and actresses claimed he pursued them, using his influence to pressure or manipulate them. Some accepted out of fear or ambition, while others lost everything when they refused. Goebbels even built a private villa near Berlin, a hidden retreat where he could escape from political life and indulge in his personal desires. It became a place of luxury, secrecy, and betrayal. As the war turned against Germany, Goebbels became more desperate. His propaganda speeches grew darker and more furious. He urged the German people to fight to the last breath, even when he knew defeat was certain. When Hitler took his own life in the bunker, Goebbels remained by his side until the very end. For one day, he officially became Chancellor of Germany, a meaningless title in a dying nation. The next day, realizing that there was no escape and no future, Goebbels and Magda made a chilling decision. They would not let their children live in a world without National Socialism. They poisoned their 6 young children as they slept, each wearing a white nightgown. Moments later, Magda and Joseph took their own lives. Their bodies were burned in the same garden where Hitler's body had been set on fire. It was one of the most horrifying and tragic endings in history. The man who had filled Germany with lies and illusions had finally destroyed even his own family in the name of that lie. Goebbels' story stands as a symbol of hypocrisy and madness, a man who demanded purity from others while drowning in his own corruption. Behind his speeches and smiles, he was a broken man consumed by ego, fear, and lust for power. He had become the very monster he pretended to fight against. His downfall reminds the world how power can twist the soul and how propaganda can destroy truth, humanity, and even love itself.